Hello, welcome to the Rachel Roth Show, and I am so excited about the episode today because I'm going to tell you why. This brings together so many things that I am so passionate about. It brings fashion that I love, fashion and beauty. It brings identity and who you are meant to be. It marries all of it together because Jessica Papineau is a genius and she is amazing. And she's so beautiful, but she is so grounded at the same time. You know how you meet people and you're like, they can't be real. They can't be real. They're too pretty. They're too perfect. She is the whole package and she's so down to earth and she's so amazing. And she has such an incredible heart. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about her and then we're going to let her teach us because I'm not going to do the talking here. So Jessica Papineau is the founder of CSJ, a leading authentic fashion styling company for high-performing female entrepreneurs. Jessica has personally styled hundreds of women, spanning seven-figure entrepreneurs, executives for billion-dollar global brands, online influencers with millions of followers, and professionals in the entertainment, sports, music industries. As a top leader in fashion styling, her insights have been featured in various print publications and media outlets. So she's been at this for over 25 years. She has all the answers. She has amazing ideas, and she has got my heart beating fast as we were talking before we even got started here. So I am so excited to learn from her. Jessica, hi. Thank you for being
Rachel.
here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just beyond excited and so happy that we had the introduction and that I met you. And I just feel like there's so much alignment here and I just can't wait to share.
Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like the luckiest girl in the entire world because I have the most amazing people in my life that know amazing people, right? So my friend Elizabeth knows Jessica and said, I want to connect you two. And this feels like a very natural because Elizabeth knows me so well and knows Jessica and was like, I feel like these people need to connect. And I just feel so fortunate because I get to meet the most amazing people in my life and learn from them. So Jessica was, first of all, we have so many similarities and I'm just blown away. So we were talking right before this call. We are both from a family of four girls. We both have two boys and we are the girliest girls, but are raising two boys. And I mean, I just love and she has such a passion for helping people step into who they truly are. And so I want to girl, we got to dig in. I got to know all the things. So tell me first and foremost, tell me what your business is. I know I just read your bio, but tell me in your words what your business is and what you do for women.
Okay. Well, it's grown astronomically in the last 4+ years. I help high performing women elevate their fashion and transform their careers, relationships, and lives. And I do this all through fashion and styling. So I think I was telling you before we hopped on the podcast here, really the fashion and beauty, that really is the vehicle. And I've learned, because going through the entrepreneurial journey, there's a lot of self-discovery, right? And so I've truly learned that, in order for a woman to truly step into her power and really allow her gifts and her authentic self and who she was truly designed to be, for that to come through her confidence must be elevated, right? And so how, as a woman, do we feel confident? Well, it does. One of the things that is, it may sound superficial, but it's not. It's how we perceive ourselves to look, right? And not what other people think necessarily. More importantly, what we perceive when we look in the mirror. And so when you start your day in the morning and you get up and you suit up, you're able to fully show up in the most powerful way. And you can look in the mirror before you leave the house or before you hop on your first Zoom call And you can look at yourself and go, I feel like I look like $1,000,000. I can't wait to capture the day. And when you can do that, you can truly hold the space with whether it be your clients or your children or your significant other. You can hold that space and be truly present because of that confidence. You can allow that authenticity to flow through you. So first and foremost, that's what I do. That's the feeling that is evoked. Those are the the outcomes of the styling. I work with women currently for the last 4.5 years. I've worked with women one-on-one, either in their home or virtually. And I help them to first kind of assess their lives and what they truly desire to be, and what, because as women we're constantly going through different life transitions and seasons of our lives. And I always feel like, when we're a little girl, it's like we're just we know who we are, and we're just at play, and we haven't really been tainted yet by others and what others think we should be. And then slowly we go through our lives, we go to school, we do the things we think we should do. And working with high performing women that are either entrepreneurs or executives, not to say that I don't help other women that are stay-at-home moms and things. Everyone has their path that they're on. But these are women that really, they want to be the best versions of themselves. We sometimes as women tend to put ourselves last or feel unworthy of, really investing in ourselves. But we want to be fully present for our family. We want to give the best of ourselves. We want to be that high performing, successful woman. But sometimes, we can get caught up in who we think we should be. So number one is I hold the space with women to be curious and really think about what they desire. And that's before we even walk in their wardrobe. Mm. And then once we can get to that place, and, it does happen pretty quickly, but I think sometimes it's an automatic, thing that happens in our brain where someone asks us what we want and we automatically say what we think we should say. But because I've been doing this for so long and asking these questions for so long, I ask a lot of questions to then get the answers. Mm-hmm. And it really is that time that we spend together. And this is part of my formula, part of the framework that I use. The first part of that is really kind of uncovering, women are they take their clothes off in front of me. And so it's like, they're figuratively also being revealed because they're sharing their deepest, darkest desires. And when we can do that, and I can hold this space with her and she can trust me, and which I am so incredibly grateful that I have the ability for women to feel that comfort level. But once we can truly do that, and she can start to describe to me what this woman looks like, that she desires and that she sees herself possibly becoming, I can literally close my eyes and imagine her in that season of her life. Mm-hmm. And not only imagine what's going on around her, but imagine what she looks like. Mm-hmm. And so then we walk into her wardrobe and we start making these assessments. Obviously, I do use some very tactical ways of, deciding and really looking at what's working and what isn't. I use, am I saying too much? Can I keep going?
No, you are not saying too much. I want to stop you because you can't say too much, first of all, because I'm going to be listening to this on repeat, over and over again, learning okay, I need to edit my wardrobe. I need to edit my wardrobe. Okay. But I love so much your heart for this, because my passion in life is to teach women how to feel more beautiful and confident in who they are, so that they can serve other people. Because the more insecure you feel and the less confident you feel, the more focused on yourself you are. And it's just a natural byproduct of insecurity, is that the focus becomes all about you. And so people don't understand, like, it's not selfish to learn a new makeup tip, to learn, to get yourself something new, to feel confident. It's not selfish, because it opens you up to serve other people, because you're not thinking about yourself. You're feeling fantastic about yourself. And I love that your heart is for that. So, okay, keep going. Please keep going. Keep going.
So we make these assessments. I use something called, I call it the 3 Fs: fit, fabric, fashion.
Ooh.
And it can be very, very overwhelming for, for all women to like go into their closet and get real with themselves. Like, what's working? What isn't? Like, do these pieces serve me in my current lifestyle and where I'm headed? Fit. If the piece doesn't fit you, whether it be too big or too small, if you don't hang on to it in your wardrobe, doesn't mean, that you can't put it in another closet somewhere or pack it away somewhere. But it really holds us back from where we're going. It's like, it's like you're looking behind you, and that's not where we're going. We're propelling forward, right? And, many women, I find, keep clothing in their closet that is way too small. And really it's sending a very negative message, because it's like you're walking in there thinking that you're self-motivating, hoping to fit in those jeans someday, but really you're body shaming yourself. And so that's number one, is the fit. Fabric. Fit and fabric are the two most important things. Fabric, this is the most difficult one. There's some things that you can kind of know. It's like, is it faded? Was it black and now it's like a light gray? Was it white and now it's like yellow? Those kind of things. Are there pills on your clothing? Are there rips on your clothing? You don't need to hang on to it. You don't even need to wear it around the house, because again, you're sending yourself a message that that's all you deserve. Right. And so those are the pieces, let them go. And then fashion. Actually, let's go back to fit.
Okay.
So, because I really want to give some really good value here that your listeners can utilize right now. I'm going to talk about fabric of denim, because denim is like, everyone wears jeans. I mean, even in the corporate world, you can wear a trouser denim to work, with a great blouse. This is how to know that the fabric of your denim is no longer doing its job. If you
I'm so excited. Okay, I'm taking notes copiously.
Okay. And this is on my wardrobe blueprint. You're going to get this when you download it. And we'll talk about that to your listeners at the end. So how to tell if your jeans are if the fabric isn't intact, is that if you hold up the jeans, not on your body, you're going to see some bubbling, almost like a rippling, right around the crotch area. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what that means is the Lycra in the denim has broken down. And the whole purpose of the Lycra is obviously comfort and it feeling like, you can move in it and feeling great in it. But it's also something that is there to lift and smooth and do all the things we want it to do. So sometimes people think, oh, well, these jeans still fit, but I don't think I look very good in them. Well, it could be that you looked great in them when you got them, but you have now washed them too many times. And ladies, don't put your jeans in the dryer. It's very bad. If you have to do it once in a while, that's fine, but it breaks down the Lycra. So that's one of the things with denim. The other thing to note as far as fabric goes, not just denim has a lot of Lycra, but, tops and dresses and things. And you can tell, when you pull the fabric, if it has that snap back into place. How to know these items are no longer good is if you take a piece and you kind of pull it, if it feels crunchy,
Mm.
I know that sounds very funny, but if it feels crunchy, it is like totally broken down. It's not serving you in any way, shape, or form, and it's time to let it go. And then the last F is fashion. Is it still in fashion? And this can be a really tricky one because how do we know, right? Some of us don't know. Is it, still in fashion? There are two things to keep in mind. And one is your core pieces. So those are your like great basics that will take you season to season, that you will have for many years. Not to say that sometimes they can go out of style, but they're those classic pieces that are not, like the novelty stuff. Those things, those pieces you really want to take note of. So like your perfect pair of fitting jeans, your great white t-shirt in a crew neck and a V-neck, your perfect black blazer, those are your core, right? The little black dress, that sort of thing. And making sure that those core pieces are intact. And then you've got your novelty pieces that, maybe like your fast fashion, right? And these are things that, it's like the one shoulder or there's so many different things happening with sleeves right now, the bell sleeves, or, the super floral kind of peasanty dress that's happening right now, that sort of thing. That's your fast fashion, which we also love. But if those types of things, if you're not sure if they're still in fashion, we have access to Instagram and Pinterest and Google and putting these things in. And I don't want to make it too complicated, but those are sort of some guidelines. And then the most important one when you're making these assessments of keep it or let it go is, does the item align with the lifestyle that I desire and where my life is going? Mm. And one thing that I have realized, I solve a lot of problems for women. I solve confusion, overwhelm, time, many things. But the most important thing that the most important problem that I solve is actually unworthiness. It took me a long time to like really, truly realize that, because I'm helping women that exude confidence and that are professionals. But really, when you peel it all back, we all have, that little bit of a feeling of unworthiness that kind of ties in with the imposter syndrome type thing. And so really we hang on to things in our wardrobe that aren't serving us because we don't feel worthy of something better. And how many of you have put on your outfit for the day, look at yourself in the mirror and say in your head, it's good enough? I don't believe that we should ever have to say that. And so this is why the assessment of, eliminating and editing out is so critical before we can move forward with creating a wardrobe that really aligns with that life that we desire. And so, after that step, really, it's a matter of, I help them go through and determine what items are needed to plug in. Like, this is what we have left. We have some core pieces. We have some novelty over here. Where are the missing pieces? And then with the description I have in my head and the of where they are going in their lives, then we start to formulate a list, because we really want to be strategic about the shopping piece, because I am an investment up front. I mean, it is an upfront investment if you're really trying to transform your life, right? And then from there, we pull the pieces in that are needed, and I create a lookbook for my clients of outfits, of mix and match pieces. And so one of my superpowers is taking a very small amount of pieces, so like the core pieces that are needed, and then the novelty, or I call it the cake and the icing on the cake, and taking very few pieces and mixing and matching to create many, many outfits. Mm-hmm. that align with your lifestyle and checking all the boxes. I mean, if you're a career woman, obviously you need to have clothes for your career and outfits for your career. But also you don't want to look schleppy on the weekend when you're with your family, right? And, or when you're traveling or, going to your kid's baseball game or whatever it may be. It's not a permission slip to like wear something crappy and not feel good about yourself. So I make sure that the pieces that are chosen also can cross over to the different areas of the lifestyle. And depending on how we style them, maybe it's a matter of switching out a shoe or changing the handbag or taking off the blazer and putting on a jean jacket, that sort of thing. And then from there, planning ahead with my clients. So when I work one-on-one with them, I know their schedules. I know the big things they have coming up. And some of my clients, I plan them for day to day, like the week before. So like on the Saturday, I have one girl, she text messages me, here's my itinerary for next week. I'm in the office on Monday. I'm seeing clients on Tuesday. I'm going here on Wednesday. And I take her lookbook that I have in my phone as well. And I go, Monday, here's the outfit. Tuesday. And I know it sounds very elementary.
No, it doesn't.
But it is like a game changer.
Yes. I would like for you to do that for me, please. I would like for you to please plan my life, because if that, sometimes I'm like, the people that have their daily uniform, like anyway, whatever, Steve Jobs did it. And then
yes,
that girl who got arrested, she was like, anyway, she was running this like massive company, and she would always wear like the black turtleneck. I can't think of her name right now.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. There was a movie on her.
Yes, it was a movie, but it was so good. It was so good, or a show or something. But like she just had like her black turtleneck or whatever on, and she was kind of like copying Steve Jobs. And I'm like, and it's not a terrible idea. It's not a terrible idea to like take that stress out, but it also takes out the fun and the creativity, and it takes out so much. So I could never do that. But I see why somebody might want to, because it is a lot to think about for yourself. It's a lot.
It is. It is
really overwhelming.
It can be very overwhelming, but really it's about taking that very first step. And just, I've done this for so long, and I've talked to so many women, and I love asking questions. Like I love to like know, even when they first reach out to me, like what led you to this place? Like, where did you find me? How, what's your circumstance? Why did you reach out now? And it's always when she's going through some type of a transition in her life. And there's usually like a lot of emotion attached to it. It's like, okay, she had a child, a year and a half ago, and now it's time for her to go back into her career. Or maybe it's just time for her to, the kids are starting school and she stays home, but she's like trying to reinvent herself, or who am I now kind of thing. But she always tells me, no matter what age she is or what season of life she's in, she always says, it was really hard for me to reach out to you. I've been thinking about this. I've been following you for 6 months, or I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I was waiting to like lose weight, or I was waiting until I got the promotion so I could, justify spending the money on myself. Or they just, when you peel it all back, they weren't feeling worthy. And so once they take that step, it's a very courageous step, and allow me to come in and really see them strip down and reveal themselves. It's super scary for them. And so the importance of me holding that space with them, looking in the mirror with them, and peering in and seeing when a woman puts her clothes on, when she puts on new clothes, especially, her eye goes right to the area of her body that she feels shameful of or doesn't like about herself. And so I watch it. I mean, I've seen it 100,000,001 times, and she doesn't see herself. She's not truly seeing herself. And when you talk about, the fact that, we get very stuck in this almost selfish way of being where we're so self-absorbed because we're telling ourselves these negative things. We can't then be our true authentic self. We can't help others, to step into their power because we don't feel powerful. And so, I'm really helping women get over themselves in a way, and in teaching them how to dress for their body, in things that make them feel wonderful. They're learning how to look at themselves and see themselves as a whole person, really. And how we do that is through, I call it highlighting versus hiding. So the initial highlighting piece for people is really, really hard because they have to look at themselves. So, I'm sure you can relate. I'm sure every woman can relate when there's that area of our body we don't like. What do we do? What do we do with it?
Yes. We hide it.
We
always.
hide
I camouflage it and I hide it always.
Yes. You're not fooling anyone. This is the thing. You're not fooling anyone. You're not fooling yourself. You're not fooling the people that are looking at you because they're wondering what the heck is under there.
Jessica, I thought I was doing a really good job for all these years. I really thought that I had fooled the world. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Not to say that you can't sometimes do something oversized. That's not what I mean at all. But when you're intentionally covering something up and you're mindfully, I don't want to see this and I don't want anyone else to see it either. It's a shift of your mind. It's a negative space, right? And so when you focus on what you don't like, what happens? You get more of what you don't like. And so it's this perpetual negativity, and we can be positive in all other areas of our lives. But if we're in that space with our bodies, we're not in complete alignment. And so if we're not in complete alignment, we can't be our best selves. And so it's a matter of putting on clothing. And sometimes you're even highlighting the area you don't like, but you're wearing the clothes in such a way that it's putting an arrow to a different spot. I know this may sound strange, but I'll give you the example of tucking in your top. So if you're wearing a pair of jeans that fits you the right way, that's a nice high rise, the fabric is great. I do believe in designer denim. I'm not saying you can't go less in certain, on certain jeans. I'm not saying that, but overall, designer denim, and not everyone, the fabric will be such that it will, pull you in and lift things up and do all the good things. So if you have a nice pair of high-rise jeans and you have a blouse, a lot of women let their blouses, if they don't want to show their tummy area, they're going to let their blouse go over their jeans. But if you're wearing this great pair of denim that's like smoothing and lifting, take your top in the front and do the front tuck. A lot of women don't know how to do the front tuck properly, but if you just tuck a little bit of it behind your the button on your jeans and then let the rest kind of go down to the sides, you are creating an arrow to the smallest part of your waist. It's drawing the eye that way. And so and a belt. And I teach, that is 101. I teach every woman to do that. And if they tell me when I do my styling, my free styling call with them before we even begin, I talk about belts. And if someone says to me, I don't wear a belt, I've never worn a belt and I never will, I always say, you are going to be a changed woman. Just you wait. I was just telling one of my girls today, we're looking at the inventory that I have. And I said, oh my gosh, we need to order belts again. We go through belts like crazy, because we're taking those belts and we are going to highlight that waist.
That is so amazing. So I have a question for you because you are so knowledgeable. And I know that I said that Jessica's been doing this for 25 years, but I need you to know that she's only in her 40s. She started very, very, very young. And So we're like about the same age. So if we're about the same age, I want to know how you got so smart. I want to know how, where did this come from? Where did you start? Where did this, what was the inception of this idea? And how and why? Do you come from a family of fashion designers? Do you come from like, I seriously want to know how, because anyway, tell me how this came about for you.
So I truly believe that every single person that is born into this world is born with a gift. They're born with a gift to give the world. And it's just a matter of whether or not they're going to, number one, be curious enough to tap into what that is, or number two, give themselves that permission to really go there, to discover what it is and step into it, right? Create a career out of what your gift is. And so my very first memory that I have of fashion, and let me just paint the picture before I go there. I grew up in a family, we lived in Maine, very rural Maine, a very poor area of Maine. I think there were 1,500 people in the town. And my parents were hippies and we lived off the land. And when I say lived off the land, I mean no toilet, no running water, no electricity. It was like bare bones. They grew in our garden in the summer. We grew all of our fruits and vegetables that we were going to have for the fall and winter. And I remember like just being a little girl, like as young as 4 years old, and thinking, I don't know if I really belong here. Like, I don't know. And I would spend hours. I was an only child until my parents divorced, and then there was blended family. And so in my early years, it was just me. And I would spend hours in my closet pulling out pieces that my mom had purchased for me from the Salvation Army. And I would take these pieces, and it was back in the 70s. There was a lot of like ugly brown and like butterfly collars and like a lot of boy looking clothes. Even. And so I would take all these clothes and like reimagine them and put them on my body and create outfits. And I had a full length mirror, and I would look in the full length mirror and I would feel beautiful. I would feel like I belonged. I would pretend that I was at parties, that we were having fun and everyone liked me because I was like fun and I was confident. And it was like the most magical feeling. And I would literally spend hours. And my parents didn't like it. I couldn't understand why they didn't like it. I learned later that they felt that I was being very superficial because that wasn't really what was important. It was about surviving off the land, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's really where it all began. And I wanted so badly to have a feeling of belonging. I couldn't wait to leave where I was in Maine and go to a city. I wanted to work retail so badly. I just wanted a job in retail so I could just like play all day long with clothes. And so that's really where it all began. I moved to Canada when I was 16. My parents had divorced. My dad moved to Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba, which was brutal cold. But I went there and I actually got a little warmer because we didn't just have a wood burning stove. I lived with my grandmother, and my dad and I lived in the top part of her house. And the first thing I did when I got there at 16 was I put on a skirt suit. It was like a black blazer and a little pencil skirt. And I put on my nylons and these little pumps. And I had my resume all ready to go. I was so excited, but scared because I hadn't been in a city before. And I had to get on 2 city buses to get to the mall. And I get to the mall and I go to the top floor because that's where all the like women's wear was. And it was a time when women's suiting was like really big. It was kind of a man's world, and women were like, in the corporate world, everyone was wearing a suit. And so I wanted to be a part of that. And that's why I put on my skirt suit. So I go to all these stores in the mall and I get to one that's like close to the end. And because I'm going in, I'm handing my resume. And the manager says, well, let's have an interview right now. So she interviews me outside the mall. We're sitting down and I tell her all about my upbringing and how much I love clothes. And she said, oh, I think you'll be great. Hires me on the spot. So I'm this scrawny 16-year-old girl. And I go in for my first day. And unbeknownst to me, I had been hired at a plus size women's clothing store.
No way.
Yes. So, I mean, this just goes to show you, like, I'm already like kind of breaking the boundaries, right? I'm not really like who I am, doesn't really align with how I've grown up. And now I'm like, there's more roadblocks in fashion for me because now I have to learn how to dress a plus size woman with clothing that's not even that great, because plus size clothing it's hard to find things that are great. And these women didn't want me to help them because they thought I didn't know what I was doing. And so I would watch them come out of they didn't want my help. They'd take all this stuff in the fitting room. Then they would come out with everything piled up in there, like not want to look at anybody and run out the door. Like they were totally defeated. And I thought, gosh, I just want them to feel good. Like I want them to feel like how I felt when I put my clothes on and I look in the mirror and I felt great and I felt beautiful and I was having fun. I want them to feel that way. So slowly I learned how to do it by watching them come out, and I would see how certain things looked on their body, and I'd want to go over and like tweak it and like say, no, don't put those pants with that top, do it this way. And then eventually I learned how to get my foot in the door with them. And it was once they would come out of the room defeated and they'd go to walk out the door, I would say, excuse me, I know that you really said you didn't want my help, but clearly you drove all the way to the mall and you walked to the end of the second floor, walked in, like you must have had a reason for coming here. There had to have been a purpose. And you looked defeated, like obviously you didn't find something. May I please help you? Just give me a chance. Like really, what do you have to lose at this point? And that's how it started. And I was good at it. And I thought, okay, this is my gift. Like I'm meant to do this. And then I got to watch them as I would dress some of these women, and they would come out of the fitting room and they'd look in the mirror, and the shock that would be on their face, like not realizing that they could actually look beautiful, and showing them how to highlight the areas that were great. And so I became top sales at the store. I didn't know anything about sales. To me, it wasn't that. It was, I wanted these women to feel great, and they were. And so that really is kind of how it began. But I was in retail for many years. I thought I was going to be a writer and an artist. And so I went to the University of Manitoba for fine arts. And I was working in another women's clothing suiting store at the time at 19. And I suffered a brain injury my first year of college. I was in a bad car accident. And so I wasn't able, I had to take incompletes for that year of school. And I had to go see an occupational therapist, and I was having some memory issues and different things. But what's interesting is that when you have a gift, like when you have that special thing that you were born to do, that doesn't go away. And so it actually was the biggest blessing that happened to me, because I was working at this store and I just started working full time because I wasn't going to school. And I was 19 at the time. And the women that were working in the store, it was mostly older women, 40 and above. And one day head office comes in and they take the manager to the back room, and the manager comes out and she has all her things with her and she just walks straight out the door. And the next thing that happened is the head office people said, Jessica, we'd like to speak to you next. I'm in serious trouble. I'm going to get fired. And this, like, I love this job. So they take me back there and they said, we're promoting you to store manager. And I was like, what? I didn't have any experience doing that. And I'm sitting there and they said, you are top sales here, and we need you to train all these other women how to do what you do. I thought, okay, well, here's my shot at it. So I left work that day. I went to I'm trying to remember the name of the bookstore, and I was looking for management, books on management, and I found the book 1 Minute Manager, and that became my Bible. And so then it all began, right? And I loved it. And I got to stay in retail, and I kind of milked the whole thing about my brain. I'm like, yeah, my brain's still really messed up. I have to stay in retail. So from there, I worked at Aldo for about 5 years until I met my husband, and they had me training all the managers and throughout the city how to sell. And then it was about shoes. Then I learned how to build the outfit with the accessories first. And then from there, my husband and I got married, and we had our first child, moved to Winnipeg, Manitoba, or sorry, not move. That's where I was, moved to Sarasota, Florida. And I guess I'm telling you my whole life story here. Is this okay?
I love it. Yes.
And I was with the kids for, I had my second child. I was with the kids for really 7 years before I went back into the workforce, like full force. I had some time where I had a makeup business. I had a business where I would, once a week, I was a bartender, and I would save money to go shopping or take my friends shopping. And during this time, I would go through and do their wardrobes. And then 2011, my husband lost his job. The market crashed and we lost everything. And I had to go back to work, and I was scared. And I went back into work with what I knew, and that was retail. And I had always had super success when I had worked in retail before. And I was hired right away at a local boutique, and she paid me $10 an hour. And it was very humbling. Yeah. And my husband did get a job about 6 months later, not a high paying job by any means. And we were paying the babysitter $12 an hour, and I was working for $10 an hour. So it's basically, in my mind, I was paying $2 an hour to be learning something and growing. And it evolved very quickly, and I became the sales manager of the store. It was a boutique and med spa. And on the side, I would go to women's homes. They wanted me to come in and put their outfits together. And then I would make their list, and they'd come back to the store and they'd shop with me. And I was always top sales. My sales were through the roof, but I never felt like I was selling anything other than confidence and transformation.
I think that it's so interesting that your perspective was, I am paying the babysitter $2 an hour to learn a new skill and to learn. I mean, I would say that most people in your shoes, Jessica, would not have that mindset. And they would say, this is crazy. I'm quitting this job because I'm paying $2 more than I'm making, and this doesn't make sense. Like, that perspective, and just the fact that you lost everything and had to start over with your husband. I mean, so much about that is just so inspirational, because I think that people can look at where you are now, polished, put together. You have your plan, a thriving business, all these ideas, and they think she must have had a really easy path, because that's what is really easy to believe about people. And your path has been anything but easy, truly. I mean, it's amazing.
I think this is where faith comes in. Actually, I know it is. And I did tell you before we started today that and I don't want to get too much into religion because, everyone has their own belief system. I didn't grow up with religion in my family. My dad was Catholic. My mom was Jewish, and they just decided they weren't happy with, the way that they were brought up with the religion in their family, so chose not to get me involved in anything. But it was very interesting because I always knew. I may not have felt like I belonged. In fact, I felt like it would have been, I know this is going to sound very dark. I felt like it would have been better for them if I wasn't there. I know that sounds horrible to say, but I did as a child. But I always, always knew that something, I didn't know what it was. I couldn't, somebody, something bigger than me had me.
Wow.
I'm going to cry.
I know, that's going to make me cry.
Something had me, like there was a lot of abuse when I was very young. And I remember my parents crumbling around me, but still knowing that I was okay and there was something better for me. And the power of that feeling was so strong that I never forgot it in any season or stage of my life. I drew from that force that I felt in the most traumatic time of my childhood. Wow. And so I've always leaned into what has been uncomfortable because I've always had the faith to know that I was going to be okay. And I truly believe when you're in alignment and you are doing what you are designed to do, what your gift is, and you're sharing that gift with others and giving service, and you can monetize this. I'm going to say that. I used to feel like guilty about that part. When you're doing that, it just comes. You just get this whole world. It's like, and not to say that there weren't times in my life where I had a very narrow view and I was like really in it and depressed and feeling bad about myself and all of that. But in the back of my mind, I always knew something had me. And when I would get in that space of knowing, things would open up, my view would open up, and I could see from a bird's eye view that it was going to be okay. And so that's what got me through all of those difficult times. But, as an entrepreneur and as a female entrepreneur, to actually start a company, because once I became successful in what I was doing, working in a boutique and being the manager and making, as far as like retail goes, I capped out. Like you can only do so good, right? Make so much. And I wanted to do more for my family. And I also wanted to continue to transform women's lives, but in a better, deeper way. And I knew I couldn't do that within the confines of where I was. And so I used to listen on my way to work, into the boutique. I used to listen to inspirational things. And depending on where my mind was that day, sometimes it would be Tony Robbins. Sometimes it would be Guy Raz, how I built this. Like I'd listen to entrepreneurs and how they built their stuff. And this one particular day, because I'm like getting close to like making this decision, right? And building something. And I'm at a stoplight and Tony Robbins is on. And Tony says, everyone has fear, right? Everyone has fear to try something new, to really live into their purpose and their desires, but to make the choice not to try and not to put yourself out there and do what you know in your heart of hearts that you were put here to do, you are being extremely selfish. And that stopped me in my tracks. I thought, how is that selfish? And then he said, everything that you were born and designed to do was given to you for a reason. right? It was given to you so that you could allow other people to experience those gifts and transform their lives. And it's selfish not to be courageous to do that, because you're preventing others from experiencing something in their lives that could be amazing. And that was it for me. Not to say that I had made that decision exactly right then and there, but it was it for me. And I knew I had to. And then it was a matter of what's the plan and the how and all of that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I mean, that is just so powerful. And what a gift you're giving so many people now. I mean, it's just amazing. I have so much respect, and I'm so inspired by your story and everything you've been through. I have a couple of very technical questions.
Okay, let's go there.
Okay. My first question is, what about colors? Because right now it's all the rage. It used to be a really big deal, and then it wasn't a big deal, and now it's all the rage to get your colors done, find out what season you are. And one of my best friends and I were on the phone, and I told her that I was just before this, I told her I was going to interview you, and she's like, I know we need to know about our colors. And I was like, yes, we need to know about our colors, Kat. So tell me the importance that you put on colors when you are building a wardrobe for somebody.
Oh, I love this question. So I have always done things in a very unconventional way. In fact, I follow some other fashion stylists and influencers and different people that have, this influence of, fashion and trends and what you should and shouldn't be doing. I don't believe in one bit of it. Not even a little bit. So here's the way that I come from it. It's all about the individual. So we're all unique beings, right? There are of course, some guidelines, of course, some things that, obviously, Rachel, you look amazing in this pink that you're wearing today. Amazing. That pink, it's lighting up your whole face. It's bringing, you probably have blush on, but it brings color, right? And it looks fabulous on you. So maybe not everyone would feel great in that color. I think it's all about, really making the assessment when it comes to what's your style and what colors should I be wearing? What styles should I be wearing? It's all about that discovery that I was first telling you about when I'm first working with a client. And that's really discovering where they want to be. What is their personality? What feels good for them? And it's all about shades of color. So I was an artist as well. I think I told you I went to fine art school, and there you can blend colors together, even with makeup, right? It's oh yeah, I look better in cool tones. Okay, but you can still wear some of the warm tones. Maybe you layer some of that over top on your eyeshadow. Maybe you take a brown eyeshadow and you layer on a little bit of blue and you blend them together. No rules. That's all I'm going to say. No rules. We can bring in trends. We can, I don't believe in going and getting your colors done. And if you do get your colors done, that can change over time. It depends what season of life you're in. It depends on, because as we age, what colors used to attract us or we used to love have changed, right? Because our skin tone has changed, our hair color has changed. I think it creates more confusion to put yourself in a box and I can only do this.
Yeah.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it totally does. I have not gotten my colors done, but my twin sister and my older sister both have. And they sent me their little square with all the colors. And I'm like, okay, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? My twin sister and my older sister are both a certain season. And so I'm like, I am probably also that season. And so they sent me this square. I kid you not, Jessica, every time I go shopping, every time I do anything, I pull out the square in my phone, it's in my favorites, and I say, am I allowed to buy this? Am I allowed to get this? Is this part of my colors if I'm going to invest in something? If am I, and so I do think that it does create some limitations, because I might see something and love it and feel like I can't buy it because it's not one of my colors. And so I appreciate this perspective that I can open up a little bit.
I'm not saying, okay, so I'm not saying don't get your colors done. I just don't like when it creates confusion for people. Like when someone reaches out to me and says, I've had my colors done. Here's my colors. This is my only palette. And I don't agree with that. That's like saying, like, you know, if you are pear shaped, you can't wear skinny jeans. I mean, I'm just throwing something out there. Like, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense to me. There's a design that will work for anyone and everyone. Do you know how many people tell me I can never do and fill in the blank?
Right.
I can never wear and fill in the blank. And you know what? I love when people say that because I want to prove them wrong.
I love it. Oh my gosh. So, okay, let's say that somebody wants to get set up with your services, and they feel nervous and they feel like, man, this must cost $1 billion and there's no way I can afford it. Like, talk to me about how somebody could get set up with you and make it feasible in their life.
Number one, I think, you know, the best way to go about it would be to go on my website. On the homepage of my website, I have something called a free wardrobe blueprint. I put a ton of time into creating this, and it's from years and years of experience. And basically, it's how do you set your wardrobe up for success? And it's not super robust. It's very, you know, simple, step by step, you know, actions that you can take today to get started. Because I think it's always a matter of like, just take that first action step, right? Even if you don't feel like it, just start somewhere. And so it'll give you a guideline of how to really go in your wardrobe and see, you know, make those assessments, like what's working, what isn't, what do I need to retire from here that's no longer serving me? And, you know, some real strategy around how do I take out, but then know what to bring in. And so it's not, like I said, it's not super robust. You're going to feel like you need more support. I'm just going to be honest. It's just, you will. But a great place to start. And then the next step would be to request a free styling call with me. And I will get on a call with you by Zoom. And we will really talk through, you know, what are those struggles that you do have with your wardrobe? Maybe at this point, you know, you want to do something, but you don't know what. I will help you formulate a plan, whether that's with me or that's with you doing it yourself. And so at this point, we'll go through all my offerings. And then you'll decide what's going to work best for you. And I'm not saying I'm for every single person. But I really like to offer that free call so that women do have the opportunity to be curious about what it is, you know, and see if it aligns with what they want and what their needs are. I was, you know, we were talking before going on today, and I was telling you a little bit about my upcoming membership program, which will roll out most likely Q1 of 2024, where, you know, so far I've just been working one-on-one with women, and I really want to influence more women to be and show up as their most powerful selves every single day. And so with this membership program, there will be a couple different tiers, and I can meet you where you are, you know, in what season you're in, or, you know, where, you know, if you're able to really go one-on-one with me, or if perhaps you want to just go in the lower tier and do it yourself. I have a digital course that will be attached to this membership program. and that will give you some real guidelines and support. And then we'll also have a community of other women, and I'll be able to do some teaching with that community on a larger scale. So yeah, the first step would be get the blueprint, and number 2, ask for that free styling call and someone will get back to you.
Holly, that is just amazing. So what if somebody says, I'm too heavy right now? Because I got to be honest, right now, that is a lot of women. I think that the diet in our country, the food offerings, I think I could go into it in depth, but like there are a lot of women who are constantly struggling with their weight and with their figure. And if they say, I'm too heavy, I want to wait until I get a good handle on this. I want to wait until whatever, like, or, you know, I don't feel like this makes sense for me to do right now. I shouldn't invest this in myself. I mean, what do you say? I know that you touched on that earlier, but like, what do you say to the woman who doesn't feel, I mean, the word is worthy. The word is worthy. She doesn't feel worthy of doing this right now because of her size or because of her life right now. What do you say?
Well, number 1, I would touch on the fact that I've realized there's a difference between confidence and worthiness. So sometimes it's really, actually all the time, it's really a matter of taking the action step first. Even if you don't feel worthy, because what happens is, and this happens for so many women that what you're saying is, I hear this all the time. So that's why I'm like, yeah, okay, here we go. It's true, you know, and we want to do something nice for ourselves when. But the problem with that is you are not able to close the gap between where you are now and where you desire to be if you don't take the action today, right? We can close that gap a lot quicker by taking the action. And so let me address the weight. Okay. So typically when a woman first begins working with me, if she has, and mostly it's like the 5 to 10 to maybe 15 pounds, right? And it's like, I desire to be where I was before. And when we're looking behind us at what we once were and we desire to be that again, it's very difficult to close that gap because we're not being realistic about where we're going. It's more a matter of shifting the thinking to where do we see our lives? What do we desire? And then let's create a wardrobe around that. When a woman is worried about buying new clothes because she's in the process of trying to lose weight, because I've been doing this for so long and I'm very strategic about those purchases and about how we can utilize things in the wardrobe and bring in just those few pieces that are going to elevate your confidence. That is something that once she begins working with me, I will take, so let's even talk about one pair of jeans, one pair of designer, amazing fitting jeans that fit her body right now today, that she can look in the mirror and go, yes, I have 10 extra pounds I'd really like to lose, but I look great in these jeans, right? But then the thought comes in, well, I'm losing weight. I don't want to spend the money. When it comes to the right pair of jeans, the alteration, so anywhere between 10 and 15 pounds, you can still wear the same pair, but they may need to be altered just at the waist, just cinched in at the waist. I believe the person here in Sarasota, because I send people that work with me, when they need to lose the weight, they automatically lose 10 pounds in a month. I'm just going to say that because the focus shifts. Mm-hmm. But I believe it costs, I think she said $35. $35. Buy at least one pair of jeans. I don't care if you wear those jeans every day. Number 2, if it's the top, typically tops aren't going to change that much and especially because we have a lot of Lycra in our clothes now, right? And maybe, it's a matter of just buying a basic white t-shirt, a basic black t-shirt, and like nice quality that lays on the body in such a way that it skims your body, and that you feel great in. Like, wear nice fabrics, treat yourself. And what you'll find, because I can take a very small amount of pieces and maximize on the number of outfits with the formula that I use with the cake and the icing. And then let's put a plan together of, let's bridge that gap right now and then reassess in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And maybe then, because we start to close that gap, you begin to step into that woman that you desire to be. And it's a mindset of abundance, of better, of you. It's a mind shift that happens, and you begin getting more of that confidence. And it's an action step that you need to take every day to get up, suit up, and show up. And you have to force yourself to do it. I still force myself to do it. I don't feel great every single day. But when you do that, you get yourself closer to where you want to be. And that confidence can begin to turn into worthiness.
Man, it's so true. I remember early on in my career, I kind of had this shift one day that I wanted to be perceived a certain way, and I wasn't there yet. And so I started to show up as the person that I wanted to be perceived as. I started showing up as the expert, as the right, like dress the part, talk the part. Even though I had those feelings of imposter syndrome, I started to show up every day as the person that I wanted to be. And it's so crazy because honestly, Jessica, I don't even know when the two matched. Like, I don't know when it went from not being that person and showing up as that person to just automatically becoming that person. But somewhere along the way, I was showing up so much as the person that I wanted to be further in my life, that all of a sudden I became that person, and all of the things came along with it. It's actually like shocking, like kind of shocking. And I've never really put that together until right now. And that we're talking about it. I'm like, I don't know when. I remember having the thought, I'm going to show up as that person, but I've never thought about it again. And I don't know when it happened that I became that person, but one day I did, and I didn't even know it.
But that's who you really are.
Yeah.
It was the allowing yourself to go there, because I mean, I feel that every single day, and like you said, people have perceptions, you kind of peer in and you look at someone's social media, or you look at their website, or you see them out somewhere and you think, gosh, she's got it all. She just always had it all. Right. And I still every day have to be very intentional about how I'm showing up. I was tired this morning. I worked all weekend. I was tired, and I was also nervous. I get nervous every time I'm going to go on someone else's podcast because I always want to be perfect, and sometimes it's okay to just be messy about it and just say it like it is and show up who you are and not worry about what other people think of you. Because I'm getting on today, I took a couple deep breaths before I got on, and I thought, I'm going to hand it over. And I'm just going to show up, and I'm going to be fully present in this podcast today, and it will come through me.
Oh, girl, did it ever come through you? I mean, you breathed life into me and inspired me in so many ways. Like, I really honestly feel like this should be a Joe Rogan 3-hour podcast. That's what I feel like. I feel like I have 1 billion more questions that I want to ask you and get to know about you. So, man, I can't thank you enough for your time and your wisdom and just pouring all of it out onto us, because you breathe life into everybody that you come into contact with. And it is just amazing. You are doing what God put you here to do. It is amazing. And I want nothing more than for you to explode so big that you're impacting so many more lives. Like, truly, everybody needs Jessica in their life. Truly, truly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so grateful that I was
man.
able to come on and be
Hey,
here.
if people want to find you, just to say
Yeah.
it real quick, like, what is the best way for somebody to find you?
I'd recommend going directly to my website. It's www.csjstyling.com. Very simple. You can also go on my social media platforms. It is the Jessica Papineau on that's my handle on Instagram, and on Facebook it's at Customized Styling by Jessica. But yeah, go right to my website and request a free call. Get the blueprint, request a free call, and then we can discuss. We can talk about it. Put a plan together. Even if it's not today that we work together, or even if it's that you're doing it yourself to start. Well, I want to spend the time to discover what it is that's going to work well for you.
Well, you are a gift to the world. Your knowledge, your heart, all of it. You are just a gift. And I am so grateful for the time that I got to spend with you. And just know you're not getting rid of me anytime soon. I'm now your number one fan. So I will be signing up for the call. I'm going to be doing all the things because I want you to style me. So thank you so much for everything. I can't wait to talk again soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, Rachel.